This video on coordinate geometry of the line is going to look at the midpoint formula, and again we're going to be looking at the log tables on page 18 for this, so have them to hand. The midpoint formula is the third formula on page 18. So here it is. It's brackets. I'm not surprised by that because it's a point, comma in the middle, as we'd expect. And on the left hand side it's x1 plus x2 over 2, and on the right hand side y1 plus y2 over 2. So let's make a note of the formula on our page. So the midpoint formula allows us to find the point that is halfway between two other points. Let's look at an example where we apply this formula. So here's our example. We want to plot 2 points A and B on a coordinate diagram. We want to calculate the midpoint of AB, and we want to call this point C and plot it on the same diagram. Remember that plot just means to draw the point onto the diagram. And let's just make a little note here about notation as well. You'll see here that A and B have square brackets around them. This is just how we write the name of the line segment that joins A to B. So let's start by plotting our points, and you should be well able for this yourself, so pause the video here while you do that and then come back to me for the calculation of midpoint. So I've set up my xy plane, and A is the point 2, 5, so out 2, up 5, and B is the point 4, minus 1, so out to 4 and down to minus 1. Okay, so I'm going to make a note now of the 2 points that I want to use. As is usual with formulae, I label my points, x1, y1 and x2, y2. I name what it is I'm going to calculate, and then I fill into the formula. So my formula is up here. So it's going to be x1 plus x2 over 2. So that's 2 plus 4 over 2. That's the x part of my calculation. I put a comma after it. And then I've got y1 plus y2 over 2. So in this case, that's 5 minus 1 over 2. You can write this as plus minus, with the plus from the formula and the minus from the y2 if you like. But a plus by a minus is a minus. So in essence, whatever the sign is with the value from the point, that's what you go with. Okay, so let's work this out. The x part first of all, so 2 plus 4 is 6, divided by 2 is 3. And then 5 minus 1 is 4, divided by 2 is 2. So my point is 3, 2. They said it's the point C, so I'll call it that. So I've just written a C in front of it. And they want me to plot this on the same diagram. So I'll go over here to my diagram, and I'll mark in the point 3, 2. So out to 3 and up 2. And this is quite clearly halfway between A and B. And it's halfway along the line segment that joins A to B. So now a question for you. So here's your question. Plot C and D on a coordinate diagram. Calculate E, which is the midpoint of CD, and plot E on the diagram. Pause your video here, have a go at the question, and then play and see if you're correct. So we'll start with the coordinate diagram. So I've set up my coordinate graph, and now I'm going to plot my 2 points. C is minus 3, minus 2 over here on the left hand side, and D is 6, 2. Now I want to find the midpoint, so I'll refer to the formula, and I'll write my 2 points C and D down, and I'll label them before I begin to fill them in. So I'll call these points x1, y1, x2, y2, and then I'll substitute them into my midpoint formula. So the midpoint of CD, using my x values first of all, will be minus 3 plus 6 over 2. I'll put a comma after that, and now into the y values, minus 2 plus 2 over 2. So we'll work that out. And you can use your calculator to type in each individual calculation if you like. So you can type in minus 3 plus 6 divided by 2, and you can type in minus 2 plus 2 divided by 2. Just be careful to use your fraction button to start off each of those calculations. And the point comes out as 1.50. So I'll go to my diagram now and mark that in. So I've marked the point E, and you'll notice that it's on the x-axis, and I'm not overly surprised about that, because when I look at the point E, I can see that the y value is equal to 0. Of course, any point that has a 0 in the y position is always going to be on the x-axis, as we mentioned in a previous video. We've answered the question in full at this stage, but just for the visuals of it, and just again to refer to that line segment CD, it's just worth noting that E is halfway along this line segment that joins C to D.